This episode is sponsored in part by PTZ Optics. Why hire a camera operator when the control is in your hands? Visit ptzoptics.com for more information. And by NewTek, makers of the TriCaster TC1. Stun your viewers, not your accountant. Visit newtek.com for more information.
Hey guys, it's Friday. Welcome to another edition of the Retro Buzz, and we've got a great show for you, especially if you are console gamers. A lot of news that hit the news wheel, the rumor mill. I don't know. It's all over the internet, so we're going to talk about that today. But I did want to let you know about a new feature here that you're going to see. So if you're on Twitch, you're going to get to see all the chat from the YouTube folks, the Facebook folks, and the Twitter folks. If you're on any of the other platforms, thanks to my repeat bot, you're going to see the comments from Twitch or Twitter on YouTube. So you all get to participate and see everybody's comments and respond to everybody, even if you're not on that particular platform. And if you're in the Discord channel, you can also see the YouTube comments. So if you're watching on Roku, Fire TV, or if you're on Doug or Glenn's channel, you can open up to the Discord channel and you can see what's going on in my chat room and still be able to interact with everybody. So it's one more step. I'm taking the precautions. Doug, I'm trying to get everything consolidated. I'm going to break the flow here. I'm going to bring Doug in here first.
Contract violation?
What? Yeah, I was about to say, what you're essentially doing is, number one, you're voiding Glenn's contract of always being introduced first. Number two, I'm just picturing in my head like the world's largest, surge protector plugged into another surge protector plugged into a power outlet. That's what you're describing, essentially. That's what it sounds like with all the consolidation of all the chats from the various different sources. Am I off base a little?
Well, it was there's a little bit of program involved, but we made it work and we made it cool. And I purposely did avoid Glenn. Do you see what I did there? I avoided. I'm just kidding.
First of all, it's not Glenn. It's Glenny G, the game genie. Okay, I got my hat.
Okay, Glenny G.
You could not pay me enough money to get me to call you Glenny G. I'm sorry.
Alrighty then. Okay.
Hold on, wait a second. I'm trying to get all this texting going here. Look at that. This is the wiring we're using to get all those chats to work.
Hey, listen.
So
the goal is eventually to even get your chats pulled in. If there's a way that we can do it to where I don't have to get access to username and passwords, let me work on it a little bit. But that would be awesome to be able to bring all the chats in like we're doing. We can actually
I can tell you Glenn's password right now. It's password 1234.
No, well, I thought it was password.
No, he thought he was being sneaky, and he added the 1234.
Okay.
That was his.
Okay.
That's his version of two-factor authentication. Was adding the 1234.
Gotcha.
I gotta change my password now. You guys are screwing me up here.
So
he's adding a 5. Spoiler.
Oh, Todd, would you stop it?
So Matt Asher wants to know. He wants to know. He says, "Is it like cold in there or something that you all wearing beanies or like?"
Let's see. Let me do a weather check.
Well, it is actually cold here.
Yeah. So current conditions, my place, 19 degrees.
Oh, it's better than here. It's not built up in here. We're at -1 today.
And there's a super chat in here. We got a super chat from Juan, which I play. I play a lot of Fortnite with Juan and his daughter. You look too young, or you look a Doug. Now Glenn needs to shave. Oh, okay.
Never happened.
Yeah. So I did shave the first time in 10 years that I've shaved. I either have a goatee or I have a beard, and I shaved. I wanted something different, but it's growing back. It's growing back. So it's only one day. It's only been a day. Next week I'll have, at least the goatee back, because my daughter absolutely. Well, my daughter's like, can't you just like glue it back on? I'm like, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
So, well, we're gonna tolerate it. I kind of regretted it after I did it, but oh well, it will grow back. It's only hair. So, but that's what everybody's been saying. I knocked 10 years off my life. Papa Brad's Gaming says Glenn's password is password 1234.
God damn it! You guys stop giving out my passwords? I gotta change it again.
Michael B in the chat room. He's also this. That's incredible. That's the same password as his briefcase. I wouldn't be saying that out loud, Michael. Like, what? You get like, shh, you know. Anyways, well, it's great to be here, guys. We're going to get started here with some news. We got some great news for you, so hang tight. And we got, Doug, the biggest news of the week, I think.
I mean, it's
the
internet. Biggest news for, I don't know, longer than a week, like years. I mean, this is a huge acquisition. Basically, Microsoft going out there trying to be the Thanos of game companies these days. This isn't their first foray into the acquisition of gaming companies, but this is certainly their largest. Acquiring Activision, Blizzard, King, $68 million. Let's go ahead and round it up to 70, not million, excuse me, billion with a B.
Billion.
Wait, I thought it was 75.5, all cash deal.
Well, I mean, who the hell knows what that means?
Okay, because I'm like, I've seen reports.
The reported number was like 67.5, like anywhere. Let's just say a stupid amount of money.
They gave him a discount
because, yeah, I mean,
now
they are the proud owners of Call of Duty, Candy Crush, Spyro,
the best part is
Crash Bandicoot, Tony Hawk,
Kaboom, Dragster. Classic games brought on 4K video. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah. So obviously the internet was all like, you know, hypothesizing what this means, and oh my God, is, you know, Microsoft going to buy everybody out and force, you know, Sony out of the gaming market completely, because, you know, that's how monopolies work. And this technically isn't considered a monopoly, but this is a huge undertaking because they are taking away a lot of the developers that Sony's already been working with in many, many years, and kind of scaring people to think, hey, all these games that have been, you know, multi-platforms, Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo, whatever, are these now only going to be exclusive Microsoft/Xbox games moving forward? I mean, that's the knee-jerk fear reaction that everybody on the internet's going for right now. But honestly, I mean, anybody with common sense can tell you, and Sony and other people had already kind of backed this up, was nothing's going to change for a while because there's already contracts in place that say, hey, this stuff is going to come out on this console, this stuff's going to come out of this console, regardless of the deal. Things aren't going to change immediately. It's not just going to be night and day, like next week Call of Duty is Xbox exclusive. It's not going to how things change. If something like that happens, it'll be years into the mix, so to speak.
But I think
people don't realize that Microsoft's going to buy Sony anyway. They got the cash.
Well,
they'll buy them next.
I don't think it would be a good, smart business for Microsoft to not allow Sony to have Call of Duty, even if it wasn't in contract, Doug, because I mean, that's a cash cow. They could probably increase the royalties. They could do that and charge them more. I mean,
well, just think about it. Like, yeah, sure, it sounds quote unquote business sexy to like run your competition out of business. What's even more appealing is having your competition literally being forced to write you a big check every single month. Like,
that's right.
That's the deal. I mean, you're living it up right there. If your competition, Sony, has to write you, you know, a royalty fee for their games every time they sell. So like the more successful they are with your own property, the more successful you are. So I mean, that's an ultimate win for them. So
yeah,
I don't think there's any chance or any reason or rationale that Microsoft would all of a sudden start closing the doors to all these other places like Nintendo or Sony and keeping everything internal, because essentially they just shoot themselves in the foot.
Now, there's one thing.
Maybe the PlayStation ports might have more glitches than the Xbox version, you know? Sort of like ColecoVision did back in the day.
That wouldn't be good business, though, Glenn. That wouldn't be good business.
Well, look at ColecoVision back in the day. They did their port of Donkey Kong, and of course they had it for the Atari, and in television they had the worst of ports. You wanted the best port, you had to buy the ColecoVision.
The issue I have right now, and I've seen reports coming in, is that they want to, in the next version of Call of Duty, it's going to be Modern Warfare, another Modern Warfare, which we all know Modern Warfare
is this war at this stage. We're like what, number 5?
Yeah, Modern Warfare 2. Modern Warfare 2 was the best Call of Duty game that I've played yet. And I think the chat room would agree. But this is what they're saying. They're going to put Master Chief in there. Like, why would you take Master Chief from Halo and put him in Call of Duty? This is not Fortnite.
Yet.
Well, yeah, true. But I'm saying, like,
it's a Fortnite generation.
Like, I don't I like Halo, but I don't want to play as Master Chief in Call of Duty. Call of Duty is a completely separate. Am I the only one that feels that way?
Yes. No, I mean, I started losing a lot of my fandom for the Call of Duty franchise when it started to try to like be something else. Like, I think it was Advanced Warfare or whatever. Anyway, when they started adding like jetpacks and allowing you to like run sideways off the wall and fly around, I'm like, if I wanted to do that sort of thing, I'd play Halo. Like, I play Call of Duty for a specific style of gameplay. So when it started to try to like lose its, I don't know, identity, so to speak, and started to try to be something that it really wasn't, that's when I was like, maybe I'll just sit these next couple of Call of Duty games out. And I did. Then I came back to it when it started going back to its roots, and it felt a little better.
And it does. I don't know what they're going to do. Like, I don't like, it's just redundant. Like, don't take characters, and I know Nintendo does it with Mario and Sonic, and I get that. I do. But Call of Duty is like a grown-up game. I mean, like, honestly, like, that's the game you play when you just want to chill and you need to blow off some steam, and you go in with your buddies after work and you just start annihilating people.
Well, you call it a grown-up game, but every time I'm on there, I definitely hear an 8-year-old.
It is. Well, they shouldn't be
going
to
town on somebody and just, and typically they're the most
obnoxious.
Let's just, obnoxious. Yeah, that's one word. Flagrant with their vocabulary.
Can you teabag in Call of Duty? Can you do teabag in Call of Duty? Because that's a big Halo thing.
Usually when Glenn's in there, you hear a lot of screaming.
I'm getting killed by some 4-year-old.
Yeah, all I ever hear is some prepubescent kid talking about wasting somebody, and then somebody's yelling, "Mom, 2 more Hot Pockets, please," something like that.
Well, I agree with you guys. I think that it's in Microsoft's best interest. They're not going to limit these games. But one of the cool things here is, and I was going to pull it up here, that I thought about. If you want to talk about this a little bit while I pull it up, about how they want to revise a lot of the old titles that they've kind of put on the shelf, so to speak, from like Activision and such.
Yeah, Phil Spencer, Microsoft CEO, or was it Xbox CEO? I forget his official title. I can't remember which one he is.
I think it was the Activision one. Yeah.
Either way, he was talking about, he's like, hey, we bought Activision / Blizzard. He's like, it'd be really cool if we could kind of bring forth some new games for some of these dormant IPs. Rock Band's one of the biggest ones. It was huge for many, many years, then it just fell off the face of the earth. And I think personally, a lot of that has to do with oversaturation.
Yeah.
Not Guitar Hero, King's Quest is another good one. But yeah, he made mentions, specifically called some things out and said, hey, apparently we own these. Maybe we should dust them off. And they talked about, making some changes. Obviously, if you've been following gaming news for the last couple of months, you know that Blizzard and Activision had already kind of been going through some internal controversy with their own, let's just call it human resources, because they had some issues internally with the employees and management doing some pretty shady stuff to one another, and had been dragged through the internet ether for a while. So honestly, I think Microsoft maybe should have held out a little longer and got this stuff at a discount.
Yeah, I need to address Juan here. Listen, Juan, what happens in the Fortnite chat stays in the Fortnite chat. This does not enter into here. And she was 6. She wasn't 10. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, his daughter slaughters me all the time. I think we've got the best of her once. But anyways, I think the pandemic had a lot to do with the resurgence, because I've seen like Skylanders Imagine X. Like my son was into that when he was like 5, because they're like little amiibo type characters that you can put in a battlefield, and it gives the powers to the characters. Those, like 2 years ago, you could buy them like at a nickel to a dime a piece at a retro game store. Now they're going for $15, $20, and $30 a character, like the amiibos.
Yeah, that's the cycle of anything collectible. It essentially has to start out at retail value, be valued, and then completely devalued to where you almost have to like give it away because nobody wants it, and then it comes right back around to being collectible again. Same things happen for all our classic games: Atari, Nintendo, Super Nintendo. At some stage in time, you couldn't give those away because something new, bright, and shiny was out there in the market, and people were like, I don't want that old crap. I want something new. So that's why people have always been able to scoop up toys, collectibles, comics, video games for dirt cheap. Well, years after that happens, it comes around. Same thing. Guitar Hero, Rock Band. I don't know how many garage sales,
$5,
stores, all these type of things. You see those just like I said, just stacks and stacks of them. And then now, hey, you want to buy a Guitar Hero guitar that works? $50.
Well, I was just going to say, I
used to buy a lot of them for $50.
I went to Goodwill. Again, here, Glenn, there's another deal for you. I went to Goodwill, and they had the Rock Band drum set with the 4 pads, 3 cymbals, the pedal and everything.
Mm-hmm.
They're selling them at like retro game stores for like $300 for that complete kit. No game, just the complete kit and the sticks. And I got it at Goodwill for $20 for Xbox 360.
There's only dish plates and pans at my Goodwill. What is going on here?
You need to go almost every day. I don't go every day. I go every couple days, but there's a lot of good deals. But my point is, back then, that was only like 2-3 years ago, right at the beginning of the pandemic. The pandemic, I think, really escalated the value of a lot of this stuff because people were stuck at home. They had nothing to do. And so they dug out the old Guitar Hero, and they're like, wow, this is a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun with this. And then nostalgia kicks in, and now everybody wants one.
Yep. Acquisition time. It's like, how do I rebuy something? How do I add to my own collection? And that's why collectibles as a, categories went through the roof, whether it be classic video games, comics, baseball cards, trading cards are like at an all-time high now. And I'm like, literally for decades, you couldn't give that stuff away. People were like, oh man, the bubble burst and we're out. Well, guess what? It's back because all of a sudden people got stuck at home and started looking around going, you know what I really used to like? And then they started buying it and going on to eBay, and the prices started to skyrocket.
What I want to know is, Glenn, how many Guitar Heroes do you have guitars in plastic bags in your arcade?
I actually have none. I don't have
anything
Guitar Hero related. None of that stuff. You know why?
Because it's too new.
Musically inclined at all. No, I can't follow buttons with the music. I can't do any of that stuff. I can't.
I am rhythmically challenged as well, Glenn, so I sympathize with you. I've had all the Guitar Hero games and Rock Band, and I enjoyed them, but when it comes to actually being good at them, for whatever reason, the wires are crossed in my brain, and I don't do that well.
Yeah, I have DJ
Hero. The only
Hero.
thing I need is ABBA We Dance.
ABBA We Dance?
Yep.
Oh boy!
Little dancing queen going on there.
You should bust out the DJ Hero, Glenn, with the hat, man. You'd be
there
set.
You go. Yeah,
you'd be set. You look like
you go
style.
Parappa the Rapper.
I was just gonna say you're gonna be like Parappa the Rapper. I was gonna say that.
Oh
Kick,
wow!
Punch! It's all in the mind.
That's right.
You want to test me?
So the other side of all this, right? Everybody was screaming, about Microsoft and everything like that. Something happened, Doug, to Sony. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about the knee-jerk reaction and the internet having that immediate fear. It's like, oh my God, all these games are going to be Xbox/Microsoft exclusive. So people naturally panic, and Sony stock the day that this announcement, came out and hit there, dropped 13%, which translates to $20 billion, which sounds like a crazy, scary number, but it's also crazy scary to think 13% of the Sony revenue is only $20 billion. Like, my God, like that shows you the value of these large corporations and how truly liquid they are.
Not that Jake, we gotta do this comment right here.
Mm-hmm.
This is a great comment. You, sir, have won the internet for the night, Mr. Adam Montgomery. Microsoft used the code COOLTOY for 10% off their purchase of Activision and Blizzard. That is the comment of the night, folks.
It's unfortunate that I don't get any kickback from that, because that would have been a nice chunk of change. But yeah, good for them. I mean, use those coupons. Use those coupons for sure.
But no, like you said, it's a knee-jerk reaction.
Yeah.
I mean, Glenn, you don't really have a lot of the new consoles, but Sony or Microsoft, what do you see in all this?
Well, Microsoft is known to not always play nice with other people in the sandbox. I mean, it's just their history. They'll buy up other people's technology and incorporate it into theirs. Activision, just want to say, Activision is the oldest, the very first third-party developer. Just think about it for a second.
Mm-hmm.
Before Activision, there was no such thing as a third-party developer. They were the first. And that company's still around today. And it feels a little weird to me to be a Microsoft sub-product at this point, to me, as a retro gamer. I'm happy the company's still alive. Of course, like Atari, it's not at all what it used to be. It's just really the name sake. But, these companies are here to make money. And I don't feel like redoing my tirade from last week about I hope they're not making all downloadable content, so they're going to piss me off if that's the case. But in all seriousness, Activision and Blizzard have had ups and downs over the past couple of years as well. They've been making money, but they've also lost money. They've had some things do better than others. So I think overall for them, it was probably a smart decision to become under the Microsoft umbrella because the Xbox is a very strong brand, and they are trying to give more value to their clientele. Sony maybe missed the mark, but they bought Psygnosis, if you guys know who that is. That was a very old Amiga developer. They bought them, but it didn't work out so well for them. Psygnosis was a really strong developer back in the 90s, but when Sony bought them, it didn't really go so well for them. So I'm hoping that's not going to be like a thing to come now with Activision becoming under Microsoft's umbrella. I know a couple of the studios that they kind of stumbled in the beginning when they got taken over by Microsoft, but they started getting their stride later. So we'll have to wait and see. But just think about that. $70 billion, not million, $1 billion to buy them. And Microsoft didn't even blink in doing so.
They used
buying coffee to them.
They used the code Cool Toy for 10% off.
They did.
So just to give you context of like previous acquisitions from Microsoft. So previously their last biggest acquisition was when they bought LinkedIn for $26 billion. They bought Skype for $8.5 billion. They bought GitHub for $7.5 billion. They bought Nokia for $7 billion. And they bought Minecraft for $2 billion. So, I mean, all that is like chump change compared to this deal. You can add up all their previous acquisitions, and it's still not enough to show how much they're paying for.
What's Nokia doing for them? Is Nokia
well, wait.
Cash?
What about Skype? They bought Skype, too.
Yeah.
And they're killing that,
too. That's what I said, $8.5 billion for Skype.
Yep.
And another thing we have to like kind of keep in mind, like the Nokia thing, and same thing with kind of like Sony's market. What we see in America is always, a small chunk of the overall picture. Like Sony obviously owns Square Enix, which is a huge developer, for the Japanese market. USA, not so much. Typically, the only people can think of is, the Final Fantasy series. But globally, I mean, they've got a big foothold in the gaming market.
My biggest fear, and I don't know if you guys agree with this or not, and chat room, please chime in with this. My biggest fear is the same fear that I had when Microsoft bought Skype was the fact that they were going to ruin it. And I think a lot of people with Minecraft thought the same thing because when Microsoft gets their hands on stuff, they tend to break it. And not in a good way. It's usually like it was working great, and then they broke it. Like, for instance, with Skype when they bought it, you used to be able to use like virtual cameras into it. You could use capture cards, but then all of a sudden Microsoft's like, if you want to do that, you're going to pay a premium for it. So we're going to break it in the client. So there was things like that. So that's my fear, like these new revised, let's say we'll call it revised editions that are going to come out of some of these older Activision and Blizzard games and such. Are they going to be the same that we experienced all the years?
Kaboom and Pitfall and Drag Racer and Barnstorming will be good to go. And real quick, I did a poll in here in my chat.
Okay.
Who is better, whether they feel is better, Microsoft or Sony. Currently, Microsoft's at 58% and Sony's at 42%. Which is the better gaming console? What do you two think about that?
I'm always neutral. Like, I just like video games. I don't care what systems that I own all the systems. Certain generations I prefer. Like, there's certain times you ask me, hey, do you like the PlayStation 2 or the Xbox 360? And I'll pick one. And it's not because of brand loyalty or anything. It's just like certain games spoke to me more than others. And currently this generation, I've got the Series X, I got the PlayStation 5, and I got the Wii. I play the Wii probably more than anything just because of its portability. I like the PlayStation 5 controller the most.
You mean the Switch?
Yeah, sorry.
You said Wii.
I thought it was saying the Wii. I was like,
Glenn's yeah. I'm like, that's not what he means.
I did enjoy the Wii, but that's what I'm saying. Like, certain things. But, I like the PlayStation 5 controller more than anything. But I also like Xbox's live, online presence more than all three of them. So it's just like, I don't understand like the tribalism, the loyalist type of thing. Like, if you could only buy one, maybe I get that, but even then it's like, hey, the grass is green on all sides. Like, just enjoy the games for what they are.
I'm 100% with Doug. There's certain games, like I like the Uncharted series that is on PlayStation. That's like my favorite series of all time. That's what got me to buy a PlayStation 3 back when it happened. I am with Doug also. I love the PlayStation 5 controller so far. I think it's the best controller out in the market, not because Sony made it, but it just feels good in the hand. It's got a lot of technology built into it as far as speakers, like if you're playing certain games that you hear in your headset, and then if they talk on a walkie-talkie, you hear it on the controller like as if it was a walkie-talkie. So it's really, really cool from that standpoint. And like Doug, I have them both. I have all three of the new consoles. And there's certain games, like I buy Nintendo for Nintendo games, like Mario, Zelda, Castlevania.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, where else would you buy them?
Well,
Nintendo game. Just
like
curious.
Xbox, and I'm sorry for Sony fanboys out there, but Xbox Live is the best online platform that's out there right now. Like Sony can't even touch it.
Yeah,
that's the best experience.
Yep. Absolutely. I mean, I agree. There's no argument, in my opinion. Like, Xbox Live is the pinnacle of what the online presence should be.
Right.
Everybody else tries to kind of mimic it and do their own twist on it, and that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But I still think Microsoft is, above the other two.
And Nintendo, sorry guys, you need to work on it. You remind me of AtGames with your online stuff. I'm sorry, I had to throw that out there. I'm sorry. I'll get it off of Doug and Glenn because this is my feelings. But AtGames with ArcadeNet is kind of like Nintendo with their overpriced subscription thing that they have, that they want you to pay for retro games that you paid for 50 million times. I'm sorry, but you got to give us more. Give us something worth that money. Just saying. That was my little rant. Glenn, I do believe we have something. We have something coming up, don't we?
We do. It's coming to that time once again, and I think it might be time for a Game of the Week. It's time again for Game of the Week. And what game am I playing this week? It's All Out War in Bally Midway's Wizard of War. Wizard of War is an arcade game released in 1980 by Midway. Up to 2 players fight together in a series of monster-infested mazes, clearing each maze by shooting the creatures. The game was ported to a number of systems, including the Atari 8-bit family, Commodore 64, Atari 2600, Atari 5200, and probably the best version for the home I ever played was called The Incredible Wizard for the Bally Astrocade. The original game cartridge came with a cash prize offer to the first person to complete the game. The player's characters are called warriors, must kill all the monsters by shooting them. Player 1 has yellow warriors on the right side, and player 2 has the blue warriors on the left side. In a 2-player game, the players are also able to shoot each other's warriors, earning bonus points and causing the other player to lose a life. Team-oriented players can successfully advance through the game by standing back-to-back, such as in a corner, trying anything that comes at them. Each dungeon consists of a single-screen rectangular grid with walls and corridors in various formations. The warriors and the monsters can travel freely throughout the corridors. Each dungeon has a door to the left and right edges, which connect with each other, making the dungeon a warp around. Whenever a door is traversed by a player or a monster, both doors deactivate for a short period of time, making them impassable. A player who exits the door can pop back through the door immediately when the warlock or wizard is in the dungeon. A small radar display indicates the positions of all active monsters. As long as a player has at least 1 life in reserve, a backup warrior is displayed in a small sealed cubbyhole at the corresponding bottom corner of the dungeon. When the current warrior is killed, the cubbyhole opens up and a player has 10 seconds to move the backup into play before automatically being forced in. The various monsters include the following: Bruwar, a blue wolf-type creature; Garwar, a yellow Tyrannosaurus Rex type of creature; Thorwar, a red scorpion-like creature; Warlork, an insectoid-type creature; Wizard of War, a blue wizard. Both Garwars and Thorwars have the ability to turn invisible at times, but always appear on the radar. All enemies except the Warlock can shoot at the warriors. Each dungeon starts filled with 6 Bulwars. In the first dungeon, killing the last Bulwar will make our Garwar appear, and the second and last 2 Bulwars are replaced by Garwars when killed, and so on. From the 6th dungeon on, Garwar will be replaced by a Bulwar when killed. On every screen, killing a Garwar causes a Thorwar to appear. There will never be more than 6 enemies on screen at once. From the 2nd dungeon on, after the last Thorwar is killed, a Warlock will appear to try and escape one of the side doors. The level ends when the Warlock escapes or is killed. In the latter case, all point values for the dungeon are doubled. The Wizard of War will appear in or after the 2nd dungeon once the Warlock has either escaped or been killed. After a few seconds, the Wizard will disappear and teleport across the dungeon, gradually approaching the warrior. The Wizard remains in the dungeon until he shoots a warrior or is killed. He uses a speech synthesizer to taunt the players throughout the game.
Wizard of Warrior 2. Science 1. Magic hear me.
The players are referred to as warriors during the first 7 levels, and then warlords beyond that point. The warlord dungeons are more difficult than the earlier levels because they have fewer interior walls. There are 2 special dungeons with increased difficulty. Level 4 is the arena, with a large open area in the center, and level 13 is the pit, with no interior walls at all. A bonus warrior is awarded before each of the levels. Every 6th dungeon after level 13 is another pit. A player who survives any pit level without losing a life earns the title of Warlord Supreme. Each dungeon begins with a dramatic rendition of the 5-note opening to Danger Ahead, the theme to the radio and television series Dragnet, with the 5th note only playing on double-score dungeon screens. Wizard of War was moderately successful in the arcades. When it went to the home, Electronic Games called the Atari 8-bit version outstanding. It similarly praised the arcade version, stating that while one-person and competitive 2-player was excellent, 2 people cooperating was a unique playing experience. Danny Goodman of Creative Computing and Video Arcade Games called the Incredible Wizard for the Astrocade an incredible good replica of Wizard of War. Danny Goodman of Creative Computing and Video Arcade Games called the Incredible Wizard for the Bally Astrocade an incredibly good replica of Wizard of War. Video Magazine 1982's Guide to Electronic Games agreed, calling it a near-perfect translation of the original arcade. It would go on to be awarded the best multiplayer game at the 4th Annual Arcade Awards, where it was described as the finest cartridge ever produced for the Astrocade. I have to totally agree. With all the home ports out there, the Bally Astrocade had the most near-perfect translation of the arcade, only missing speech, but the audio sound effects were near perfection. Outside of playing in MAME, which will give you a perfect arcade version, of course, the next best way would be the Bally Astrocade, but they are quite rare and are kind of prone to overheating and burning out. So any home port will be a good way to play.
Wizard of War.
Well, that's it for this Game of the Week. Hope you enjoyed it. Remember to join us again next time for another game review. And remember, tell your family and friends that you love them. And in between those times, remember to game on.
I will die another warrior. Ha 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 ha.
You know, I just read, you had a comment for me before, but I'm reading something from Paul in my chat. I feel people under 40 rolling their eyes right now. So,
I'm
but,
over 40
again,
and I was rolling my eyes. No,
it's the retro buzz, which means it's a retro show, so it's a retro game of the week. And if you're looking up my retro shows of the week and games, that's what you're getting. Period. My hat is spoken.
I said it looked like Lock and Chase. He goes, no, Lock and Chase looks like this.
That's
So,
right.
And
Doop, doop,
what was
doop,
what was the comment, Doug, that you had in your chat room for Glenn?
Oh, so this is from Child of Yah. It said this would have been Game of the Week 30 years ago. And then he followed it up
And it
with
was.
maybe 40.
And 40 probably been closer to it because it was an 80s game. And it was. If you watched my video just now, I would have told you it won awards.
Well, now,
So yes, it was.
hang on a second. You've got some fans here that are agreeing that it's a good game. Mitchell B says
Everybody's got different taste. Everybody knows that, you know.
Mitchell B says I still love playing this game. Okay,
Mhm.
so I'm perusing through here. Hollywood
The
Polo.
hats, man.
He said Wizard of Walls on Steam is the ultimate version of this, and it's 4 players online co-op.
Nice.
So there you go.
What's online?
So Glenn doesn't know what Steam is, so you guys will have to educate Glenn on
I
what
do.
Steam is.
I do. It's so cold outside. If you have to use the bathroom and go outside in the outhouse, I definitely know what Steam is.
So we were telling him during that he needs to go out and get one of the newer consoles, so that way he can
I will not.
Experience where the gaming industry is going.
Experience what? Not even putting a disc in and still waiting half hour to download patches. No, thank you.
So we're going to get into that a little bit later. But Doug, Windjammers,
Okay.
talk to us.
Yeah, we'll talk about a game of the week that isn't 40 years old. So this week, Windjammers 2 came out. This is from Dotemu, the same studio that brought you Streets of Rage 4, the same studio that's going to bring us the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles side-scrolling beat 'em up. So that's cool. But this is the official sequel to the 1994 arcade classic Windjammers. It's like Pong on steroids, I guess you could call it, is the most simplified description of the gameplay if you're not familiar with it. But if you're not familiar with it, I don't know what to tell you because you clearly missed out on some arcade goodness in the 90s. Got new upgraded graphics, so while the 1994 arcade game did look a little bit dated, this one's obviously new stylized art style, the same kind of gameplay mechanics that you're accustomed to. It is out on all systems, but if you want a physical version, you're going to have to do the whole limited run game things. This is free on Xbox Game Pass if you have a Game Pass Ultimate membership. So I played this on lunch today, went through the arcade mode, beat it. It's very enjoyable. It's one of those games similar to like NBA Jam where you're never fully in it and you're never fully out of it because things can turn around at the drop of a hat or a drop of a frisbee in this instance. And certain levels have different court setups, so it's not just the same basic cliche tennis court. Some things will have obstacles in the middle where the middle fence would be that could ricochet the frisbee around, and certain ones will have different point setups for your goals. So some will be 2 points, some will be 5 points, some could be 8 points. So I mean, certain shots could just turn you around really quick and give you like that ultimate comeback story where you were down by 12, and then all of a sudden you came through at the wire and won your match. So definitely check it out if you're looking to relive some classic nostalgia and you're a fan of the original one, because this has everything the original one had and more.
So the only thing I'm going to disagree with you on is that it looks like Pong. I was thinking it looks more like the Ultimate Frisbee.
No, I mean it's Ultimate Frisbee and Pong. I mean it's table tennis. It's it's a lot air hockey. It's that type of mechanics, but you throw in some special power, some super moves, and that type of thing. But like I said, at its basic core principle, you're trying to get an object behind the other person and score a point.
No,
So,
I'm saving my butt because I know Glenn's going to be like, that ain't Pong. And I can honestly say that I didn't say it was Pong.
Glenn, this is Pong. This is what the kids are playing Pong these days. This is what Pong looks like in 2022.
I've never even seen it, but
Right.
I love it.
Mhm.
Love it. I'll buy 5
Only 5?
in bags.
Yep.
I'll tell you.
Actually, I gotta tell you real quick. I got a score. I went to a new supermarket. I got some bags. I got me some bags. They couldn't stop me. They didn't know who I was.
Yeah, I was about to say new supermarket, meaning he had to drive 3 towns over because they didn't have his "Do not serve this man" sign behind the counter.
40
But,
minutes
Shinobi-
away. 40 minutes away.
Yeah, Shinobi Sword in the chat says Windjammers 2 is super fun, loving it so far. So, and Child of Yas says Super Dodgeball, which is another game very similar
Yes.
to it. So
I'll tell you what I'd like. I'd
Definitely.
like to see that on the iArcade.
yeah,
That would be a good game
setup.
for the iArcade.
It'd be another one of those where they'd have to like condense and bring it down to the the aspect
Sure,
ratio of the arcade.
but still.
We've seen it done for Retromania, so it could be done.
So, Jong, if you're listening, bring Windjammers 2 to iArcade, and all you guys go out there hashtag Windjammers 2.
Or save some money and just get Pong.
Save some money.
Save some money, just get Pong. Is that the new slogan for Glenn?
Yeah.
It's always Glenn's slogan.
Save some money, just
But
get
yeah.
Pong.
James Quinones also says iArcade needs this, although would charge $29.99.
True.
I think
true that.
actual MSRP for this is $19.99 for the digital. So hopefully iArcade wouldn't add a $10 surcharge onto it. But I think its retail is $19.99. So in my opinion, it's worth it. But again, if you're one of those Xbox people, you can get it for quote unquote free, included with your subscription service.
So Hollywood has a question here, and I don't know the answer to this. Maybe Doug or Glenn knows. He said, what are the new modes on it? It just looks like a reskin to me. Does it have online co-op?
It has online. I'm not sure about co-op. I know you can go in there and immediately globally compete against people head to head. I'm not a big online person unless I got like friends playing with me. So I didn't honestly even try it. I went straight to the arcade mode because that's what's near and dear to me. Growing up in the arcades, playing the original one on the the big red machine Neo Geo cabinet. That's what I gravitate towards, is just the classic heads up arcade mode. But I do know there's online head to head, whether it be co-op. I don't know. I'll have to spend more time on that one.
I'll tell you, I'm really excited about the next one, Banjo-Kazooie, because I really like that game.
Mm-hmm. So this dropped for Nintendo Switch Online expansion, or whatever they're officially calling it. But the Nintendo 64 side of the Nintendo Switch Online, Banjo-Kazooie, loved this game. This is one of those games I remember being like an adolescent when it came out and seeing it and just kind of like immediately kind of just scoffing at it, going, "Oh, that's too kiddie," or whatever. And then I went over to a friend's house and he had like rented it, and I was like, "Okay, I guess I'm going to be exposed to this whether I like it or not." And then, sure enough, I ended up enjoying the hell out of it. It's one of those things where I was at that stage, in adolescence, where I'm like, I'm too cool for certain things, and then I, played it, and I was like, okay, maybe I'm not too cool for this. This is fun as hell.
Yeah, it was a fun game. Now, Glenn, you had to have played this game being in the Nintendo 64 era. Come on.
Nope.
Glenn, come on. You've played this, right?
Swing and a miss.
Glenn, you played this, right?
I played Mario 64 on my.
Oh my goodness! Is that the only game you played?
Maybe.
Oh, ouch. Well, at least you played Mario 64. But yeah,
goodness.
Banjo-Kazooie. If you got a Switch and you're part of the Switch expansion plus service or whatever it's called, like I said, I don't remember what the gimmicky name they came up with, but yeah, definitely pick up Banjo-Kazooie. It's one of those games that even if you're that guy that's throwing things on a Raspberry Pi or whatever, a lot of times Banjo-Kazooie has issues with emulation. So proud to see it. Hopefully, I haven't got to play it yet on my Switch, but hopefully Nintendo does it justice.
All right, Papa Brad's
that game, and also was it the other one, Conker's Bad Fur Day. So I'll have to take a look at both.
Papa Brad's Gaming says Windjammers was shown to be a iArcade online coming soon title. So there you go. But is it Windjammers 2 or is it Windjammers?
It could be Windjammers.
I would assume it's the first one. Yeah.
So maybe he's already in.
But either way, that's cool. I mean,
that is cool
because that's something Windjammers 2 right now offers, is the online competitiveness of it. So the ability to take that old classic game that didn't natively have online, competition and put it in the iArcade, that's a win.
So here's one for, this is a comment, but Glenn will 100% wholeheartedly agree with this and be so excited for this. From Peter Michael, I don't know how to say his last name, Oglesby, I'm sorry if I butchered it, but he says, I love retro systems because you can put a game in and just play. Modern games require setting up, profile, installs. I miss taking a physical game to a friend's house and just playing it.
I mean, would you rather have a physical girlfriend or a virtual one? I mean,
well, a couple months ago you had a virtual one.
You want a cartridge in the system?
You had a virtual. You had a virtual one.
I was getting ready to say this coming from the guy that had his virtual girlfriend on our show for several weeks in a row.
Yeah,
so.
Tell us about that.
I feel bad about that.
Why don't you go Windex the windows on your glass house there, Glenn?
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about that one, Glenn. Would you rather have a physical girlfriend or a virtual girlfriend?
Yeah.
Choose your words carefully.
I think we should go to another segment here. I feel like I'm getting an entrapment here.
Speaking of, one of my favorite Zelda games coming, Doug, right?
Yeah, so we talked about, we got Banjo-Kazooie this week, so they let the news slide. Hey, what's coming in February? Well, we're going to get Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. And I know a lot of people were kind of like split down the middle on this game when it came out, because I think a lot of people were hoping and expecting Nintendo basically just to do like a rehash of Ocarina of Time, just give it a new story and make it the exact same game. And Nintendo's like, no, we're gonna add something quirky and come up with something completely different. And that's what Majora's Mask was. Love it or hate it, that's what it was. It was a completely different spin, so to speak, on the Ocarina of Time game in itself. So I enjoyed it. I don't think it gets enough respect. I think hopefully this will give people an opportunity to enjoy it on new generation, and hopefully win some people over. Maybe their thoughts and opinions have changed over the years.
I still play this on the 3DS XL.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of my favorite games on that. And I'm not even going to ask Glenn because he don't know what Zelda is, so I'm not even going to go there. He probably never...
I do. Isn't that the timing chain and a Camaro? 1984 Camaro? Zelda?
No.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's... You need to just download Skyward
I do
Sword
have
or something.
the retro handheld with Zelda, and of course I got like 50 copies of Zelda around the place. It's just
You
I don't
just
know.
never
Just
played it.
Fantasy Star was more of my game, or Ys was more of my game.
So we
Just
got
Zelda
U
never
of
really
M
pulled out
student
to
in the chat says, loved Ocarina of Time, tried Majora's Mask, didn't like it. And I think that's, for the most part, a lot of people I grew up with, that was their response. It was, everybody loved Ocarina of Time. Nobody's really going to dispute that. But a lot of people, when they went from Ocarina of Time to Majora's Mask, it was just such a deviation to them that they couldn't get into it. And I think it just, people didn't give it the chance. They just maybe played like an hour of it, said, this is an Ocarina of Time. This is what I wanted.
Well,
which is my thoughts on like the NES versions of Zelda. Like I played
Zelda
the original
1, Zelda
Legend of
2.
Zelda and then went to Legend of Zelda 2, which was just such a vast change over the first one. And I was like, I hate this game. And there's still people that are like, it's a great game. And I just can't sit down and give it the time of day because I'm so upset that it wasn't
right.
Zelda 1 remade, so to speak.
But Majora's Mask was super hard, though.
It is rather difficult. And Ocarina of Time definitely had its fair share of difficult levels, but Majora's Mask as a whole is a much more difficult game overall.
And Ys did the same thing. Ys book 1 and 2 was more like the original Zelda, and then Ys book 3 was like Zelda 2. And again, it was an okay game, but again, it changed the style so much. It took you out of the game. You didn't feel like you were part of the world anymore when they made that change.
Mm-hmm.
So we got actually some pop culture news for you guys here. Before we do that, though, we want to talk to you a little bit about New Game Alert. So earlier this week, I put out on social media that I had pre-ordered the PS5 version of Deluxe Edition of Rainbow Six. Let me see if I can get that in there. No, Glenn, this is not available on Nintendo. And I immediately was bombarded by people that were like, you can play that free on Xbox Game Pass. And I was like, but we collect and we want physical copies, and so that's one of the things that I bought. But again, going back to what Doug said, no allegiance to either console, because this game is also available on the Xbox and PlayStation. But I did pick up this Metro Exodus, and I encourage any of you guys out there, if you're looking for a new game to play and you like those end time horror or apocalyptic games, yes, Resident Evil style, Last of Us style games, whether you pick it up on the Xbox or you pick it up on PlayStation, doesn't matter. But Metro Exodus, really good game, has a lot of feel of like Halo, Call of Duty, with movements and game control. Pick that up. But if you want a game that you can go in there with two other of your buddies and play the campaign, Rainbow Six, Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six, really good game so far. My son and I are enjoying it. You got cross-platform capabilities with it. So far, those are my picks right now. That's what I'm playing when I'm not streaming Fortnite with that. So dang it there, Doug. Tell us about the new thing that's coming out.
Yeah, so the new thing that's coming out is the old thing that was already out, so to speak. So, I mean, in classic fashion, let's take something of a different generation and bring it forth to the modern generation. I'm excited about this personally. I've always loved King of the Hill. I'm a huge fan of Mike Judge as a comic, styling creator, so to speak. And my dad is 100% Hank Hill, only with a beard. Looks exactly like him. Like if you shave my dad's beard, he looks exactly like Hank Hill. So I was growing up when this show was in its prime, so this is perfect for me. And one of my dad's favorite hobbies is literally getting drunk in the driveway with his buddies. So I mean, there's so many personal similarities and things I could see into this show that were very reminiscent of my own childhood adolescence. So I'm excited to hear this is going to be coming back in some shape, form, or fashion. It's still too early as far as, is this a reboot? Is this a revival? Is this a continuation? We don't know any of that. But I think this show was underappreciated. It did last a while, but I mean, The Simpsons is still going strong, 30 plus years. I think King of the Hill could have lasted definitely several more years, but it just kind of got caught up into the wave of reality shows taking over.
Yeah.
And it's like, big studios say, hey, why are we paying tons and tons of money for this animation show when we can do these quote unquote reality shows on a shoestring budget, and everybody is seriously.
Yeah, and Hello Networks, we're right here, by the way, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're right here. Come on.
Yeah.
So Glenn,
Take it more real than these guys and me.
Did you watch that show?
Oh, King of the Hill?
Yeah.
I absolutely did.
Okay.
And you know, I did enjoy it, but I'm also a little worried because it brought other shows back that didn't quite make it. They brought back Beavis and Butthead for a short time. That kind of flopped.
Oh, that's
They
true.
brought back Red and Stimpy. That flopped. So I'm
Well,
hoping it.
Beavis
I'm
and
hoping it's
Butthead
more of
is
a
coming back as
continuation.
well. So
A third time, yes. So I'm
Mhm.
hoping it's more of a continuation more than like a reboot,
Well-
a rehash, because the show worked well, and I want the same characters, I want the same voice actors. If they're bringing it back, I need them back.
I agree. They'll have to obviously change certain things. Like unfortunately, Tom Petty
What
is
is that?
no longer with
Electric
us.
cars? What are you guys
So
doing
Tom-
with electric cars?
Tom Petty had a big role in the show, which I always thought was amazing because, you know, people associate Tom Petty with only being a musician, but he was a character voice for a very long time for Lucky on this show. Brad Pitt was on this show a couple times, but your core characters are going to be there. But times have changed. The audience has changed a little bit, so it'll be interesting. And I hope to see the Hill family, so to speak, in modern times dealing with modern problems and see old Hank Hill's perspective on the world we live in now.
My fear with
Solar panels? What solar panels? You don't need no
any
solar
of
panels out here in
these-
Texas.
any of these shows, the problem with it is just like when they rebooted MacGyver. MacGyver was one of my favorite shows of all time. I
Mhm.
have every episode on DVD, Blu-ray. The biggest issue I had with it when they rebooted it was not MacGyver. MacGyver and without getting into a gun debate, but MacGyver was very anti-gun. In this series, you never, except for episode 1, saw him use a gun and use it as a thruster to propel off a mountain.
Yeah.
He didn't use it as a gun. So the new MacGyver, he was very gun friendly, which takes away. He didn't use the traditional Swiss Army knife, duct tape, paperclip things. I mean, he was doing more. I don't know. It just wasn't
He
MacGyver.
ruined the name MacGyver.
He
It's
did
in the
ruin it.
Darn name MacGyver.
I tried to like it. I tried to watch it. MacGyver was like my hero growing up. I was weird. I loved MacGyver. But that
MacGruber. Did you like
just
MacGruber?
that just wasn't it.
MacGruber is the best thing to happen. That was for sure.
Well, dang it, them solar panel thingamabobs
Yeah.
that you got up
Glenn,
on the
you'll-
dang hill.
Cars.
You'll appreciate this. So we got Paul Burns in the chat says Hank would roll his eyes at all you kids that don't like Wizard of War.
Thank you. Thank you. And you know what?
Yeah.
I bet you got to play it like anything else. You got to play it.
Yeah.
And it's a good game.
All right.
If you don't like that, you can really hate my other games of the week. Ooh,
One
man.
more we got going on here. Doug, another possible part 2 coming, right?
Yeah, so like I said, again, Hollywood has that hey, let's take something old and make it new again type of thing. So apparently they announced today that there's going to be a sequel to A Christmas Story with the original actor who played Ralphie in it. Christmas Story, obviously, probably the most famous Christmas movie of all time, set in 1940. Supposedly the sequel will be set in 1970 with grown-up Ralphie and his kids trying to recreate the most magical Christmas of all time. I think a lot of you are probably like me and immediately have that just hesitant.
Yeah.
Don't do that because, I mean, when something is such an iconic and, you know, movie
Ruin the
such as A
legacy.
Christmas Story,
Ruin the
yeah,
legacy.
I mean, you can almost, it's almost impossible to come anywhere close to that. So it's one of those things where people are immediately going to write it off before it's ever happened. They're not going to give it a chance. Supposedly it starts filming in February, so it's potentially already, you know, greenlit and moving forward. Like I said, the original actor who played Ralphie is coming back. He's actually been a Hollywood producer for many years and kind of not in front of the camera. He was an elf for a small cameo. But he's actually, he was the producer of the first Iron Man movie, one of the executive producers. So, I mean, he's still been in the Hollywood scene for all these years, even after he got done being a child actor. So I know he can still act, but whether or not they could do this
I
movie.
have one thing to say, man, Doug. I guess the one thing. Sequel trilogy. Okay? You got to know when to stop. You got to know when to stop, people.
I agree. It's kind of like when they buried Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Like, Turtles Secret of the Ooze was like, they should have stopped. Instead, they did Turtles in Time, the movie where they were like,
well, it's because
that was
dollar
the
signs. These
worst
studios
movie.
are like, hey, we spent $20 million and it made $90 million. sign us up. Do it again.
It's
I mean,
like
I understand why they beat these dead horses, but
it's like Fast and the Furious, man. Like Fast and the Furious when they got the
but those have gotten so bad they're awesome.
But I'm saying
I mean,
Fast
they're
and
just so
Furious 1
ridiculous.
and 2 is the Fast and the Furious. Whatever they came out with after it turned into like this mobster movies with all these different, Hollywood actors and pro wrestlers. They got The Rock and Vin Diesel. I mean, to me, Fast and the Furious was a culture. When I was growing up, when those movies came out, that's what we did on Friday and Saturday nights. We were throwing neon lights on ours. We were doing car clubs. We had your fast cars. We had your show cars. We were throwing PS2s inside of our cars with fish tanks and coffee pots. And we were showing them off in the movie theaters and Walmarts. That's what we did Friday and Saturday, Sunday nights. It was a culture that import scene, the racing scene / the car club scene. Fast and Furious today is not that. It is not.
So Matthew Marino in the chat says, I triple dog dare them not to make this movie. And then U of M student says maybe they'll do it justice like Ghostbusters Afterlife.
They will.
That's true.
Oh, no.
That's a good point.
Good point. There's always, there's always two sides of the coin.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
They're not.
I mean, for every time that there's been a horrible sequel that didn't deserve to be there, there's been somebody that did one justice.
To lighten the load, how they're going to screw us over by ruining this movie. Let's put some of this dielectric grease, spray it up our butts right now, because they're going to screw this movie up.
How about I give you a better alternative than spraying grease up your rear, Glenn? How about you just don't watch the movie and you pretend it doesn't exist? Because then you don't have to worry about it ruining your legacy.
It's just ruining the legacy. That's what it is. I hate when these companies. Here goes the rant. It's coming. I kept trying to stop it, but I can't. You have these movies, and they're so well loved. They have fan base, but they have writers today that are just going to ruin it. They are going to ruin it. They're going to ruin it. They're going to ruin it. Nothing more I can say. They're going to trash it. There's nothing they could do in this new film in the 70s that's going to play any good homage to the original stories back then. They're just not. I'm calling it.
My question is are they going to have the leg lamp in this one?
It's
iconic.
It's been handed down. Adult Ralphie's probably moving it to the new house. Yeah,
but it was so 70s when you looked at it, right? Actually, it was 40s, but I mean, like
40s is when it was set. But you looked at it and you're like,
it was like 70s for us. But but that's I don't know. I don't know how it's going to work. It would be like them redoing National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation and having Chevy Chase as the old grandpa.
They did do that.
What's that? Yeah.
They did do that.
Oh, did they do that? I see. I never saw the
like
Christmas Vacation.
6 years ago or whatever. Ed Helms was the grown-up Rusty.
Oh, so
I'm worried too. My son's one of his favorite movies is Hocus Pocus.
Oh yeah, they're redoing that one.
And they're coming out with Hocus Pocus too. It's just like
same actors too. The same actors.
Yep.
That's the only thing that like gives me hope though is like for specifically Hocus Pocus 2
and all them.
Yeah, if they're willing to come back, because Bette Midler doesn't need a paycheck and she doesn't need to do that movie. The only reason it gives me hope that they might do that justice is that those actors and actresses are coming back, because clearly the story's good enough for them to say, all right, sure, I'll take it. That's what I tell myself anyway. That's what I tell myself anyway.
You're going to do what we tell you. You understand, Bette Midler? We own you. You're going to do another show.
I mean, they can make as many Batmans and Supermans, right? And Spider-Mans, so why not have...
Well, the Spider-Mans have been good. The Supermans have been sucking, and the Batman's not much better. I'm sorry.
Well, I guess on that note...
make money.
We're gonna wrap this up. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Douglas Smith, youtube.com/cooltoy. We appreciate it. Again, as always, finding the latest news that we can chat with every Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And then also... Mr. Glenn Planamento, youtube.com/gplanamento. In fact, if you haven't checked it out, check out his video he's got up of the Tron cabinet that he was gifted. And you can kind of see he's going to be doing a series on that because, of course, that's his favorite game.
You can see what's right up in this corner over here.
It's right above your head.
Tomorrow. Yep. I'm going to do the video tomorrow for importing my stick and spinner and see how that works in the new unit. But real quick, I want to give one last thing on my poll that's been throughout the episode for Microsoft versus Sony. As of now, Microsoft is crushing Sony at 73% versus 27%. And the official GRS poll, which is better,
Is that kind of like the NAM and weather, like the weather models and stuff?
That'd be correct.
Okay, I was just checking. And guys, we really appreciate it. If you are bored later on and you want to watch them, I'm going to be streaming at probably about 9:30, 9:45. We're going to be streaming some Fortnite, probably play till about midnight like we do. I've been grinding over on Twitch. You can come over to twitch.tv/thetechbuzz or the YouTube channel. You'll see it pop up. If you're bored, you got nothing to do, you can come harass me. And the guys, we have a blast. So other than that, we will see you next week for more of the Retro Buzz. Until next time, keep it buzzing. Buzz, buzz.